All right, get ready because we're going to take a deep dive today.
Oh, sounds exciting.
Yeah, so today we're diving into a space where, like, ancient principles meet the cutting edge of finance, you know, Islamic law and cryptocurrency.
Whoa, that's quite the combo.
Yeah, it is, right.
Yeah.
And specifically, we're looking at Bitcoin.
Interesting.
It's pretty wild.
It really makes you think differently about, the whole relationship between faith and money.
Totally. And our main source this time is a YouTube video by Islamic scholar Yasir Qadhi.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, and he's breaking down a recent fatwa on Bitcoin. And get this, a council of Islamic scholars in North America just declared Bitcoin halal.
Really? Wow, so that means it's permissible under Islamic law.
Exactly. So, like, that's kind of a big deal when you think about it, because Islamic finance has this whole unique set of ethical considerations, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it makes this whole decision even more interesting.
Yeah,
So Yasir Qadhi's video kind of tackles the main question here, which is, does investing in Bitcoin actually align with Islamic principles?
makes sense.
Yeah. And he points out that in Islamic law, everything is considered permissible unless it's explicitly, prohibited.
Oh, so it's like the opposite of how
Yeah.
we usually approach things?
Uh.
You don't have to prove it's allowed, you have to prove that it's forbidden?
That's a really interesting way to put it. Yeah, it flips the script.
Yeah.
And that's where the Fiqh Council of North America comes in. They actually issued the fatwa,
Right, right.
and they really dove deep into all the arguments for and against Bitcoin.
They didn't just skim the surface.
No, they went all in on the research, all these perspectives
Oh, wow.
before making a decision.
Bro.
Yeah, and their conclusion was they couldn't find any Islamic basis for banning Bitcoin.
So that means it's all good to go?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Mining it, investing, trading, all good.
Oh, wow. I bet there were some people who were surprised by that.
I bet there were some raised eyebrows, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like, what kind of objections did they have?
Well, a big one was that Bitcoin doesn't have any real, intrinsic value.
Because it's not tied to a physical object like gold. Or
Exactly.
silver.
But the council kind of pushed back on that. They pointed out that value is relative.
Oh, interesting.
Like, think about high-end sneakers or
Oh, yeah.
rare corals.
Right, right.
Those may not have inherent value to everyone,
Right.
but they're worth, what people are willing to pay.
It's all about the market, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what matters is that people agree it has value and are willing to exchange it
Yeah,
for goods or services.
That makes sense. That applies to Bitcoin, too. Just because it's not backed by the government or a physical commodity doesn't mean it can't have value.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of government, there was also concern about Bitcoin, not being backed by a government.
Right, yeah. That's a common concern.
Yeah. Yeah, but the council's response was pretty much, government backing isn't a requirement for something to have value.
Makes sense.
Right. Like, think about art or antiques, even certain skills or knowledge.
Yeah, you don't need the government to
Yeah.
tell you that those things are valuable.
So it's not a deal breaker, right?
Right.
But were there any, specific conditions or guidelines that the council put in place?
Yeah, there were actually, they really emphasized spot trades.
Spot trades.
These are transactions that occur, immediately,
Okay.
where the exchange of value is super clear and instant.
I see.
This is important because it removes, any ambiguity about the price and prevents situations where the value might fluctuate
Oh, okay.
significantly between the agreement and the actual transaction.
So they're basically advocating for clear, transparent transactions.
Yeah, exactly. No room for uncertainty.
Gotcha. They also added a word of caution, though, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Reminding people that the cryptocurrency market
Oh, right.
can be volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah. They stress that you should only invest what you can afford to lose, which is, good advice for any investment.
Yeah, that's true. It seems like they were really trying to find a balance, acknowledging the opportunities, but also the risks.
Yeah, they recognize that it's a new technology and they needed to approach it thoughtfully, within the framework of Islamic finance,
Yeah.
but also being open to the potential.
It sounds like they were being very cautious and certain.
Responsible. So we've established that they gave the green light to Bitcoin, but they also emphasized this need for responsible engagement.
Right, exactly. And this actually gets to some core principles in Islamic finance that are essential to understanding how this might play out in the long term.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
let's dive into those a little bit.
let's do it.
Okay, so walk us through some of these core Islamic finance principles then.
All right. Well, one of the most important is the prohibition of riba, which is usually translated as interest.
So like earning interest on loans is a no-go. Exactly. Yeah, it's considered exploitative. Islamic finance promotes profit sharing and risk sharing models.
So it's more about collaboration
Right.
than one side, like winning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both parties are in it together. They both have a stake in the outcome.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So is there anything else?
Yeah. Another key principle is the avoidance of gharar, which basically means excessive uncertainty or speculation.
Okay. And that's why stuff like gambling is forbidden, right?
Right, exactly. So how does this all relate back to Bitcoin? Well, it gets kind of interesting here
Okay.
because, one of the criticisms of Bitcoin is its volatility.
Yeah, true.
Some people say it's like inherently speculative, which could clash with that principle of avoiding gharar.
Right. But the council still rules in favor of it. So how do they reconcile that?
Well, they acknowledge the volatility, but emphasize that it doesn't automatically make it, impermissible.
Okay.
They focused on ensuring clear transactions with known values at the time of the exchange.
So that's where the spot trades come in.
Exactly. They were really advising against futures contracts or other derivatives
Okay.
where the price is uncertain and there's more potential for speculation.
Ah, that makes sense.
Eh.
It's all about mitigating that risk of uncertainty and being transparent.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that the council didn't just issue a blanket statement.
Right.
They told everyone, hey, do your own research, understand the risks, and only invest what you can afford to lose.
That's always good advice.
Yeah, solid advice.
So it's really about personal responsibility.
Yeah, and informed decision-making.
Now, besides riba and garar, there's also mazer, right? Which is usually translated as gambling.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And that's related to garar.
It is related, but it's a bit more specific. It's more about games of chance, where the outcome is, totally random.
So where does Bitcoin fit into that? Like mining?
Well, some argue that Bitcoin mining has elements of Macer because you're relying on computer power to, solve these complex problems and earn rewards.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But the council seems to have made a distinction, right?
They did seem to differentiate it from traditional gambling.
Maybe because Bitcoin mining involves, skill and effort?
Could be, yeah. It's not just luck.
Right?
Yeah.
It's fascinating how these ancient principles are being applied to something like Bitcoin,
I know, right?
which didn't even exist a few decades ago.
It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
It really is.
Yeah.
But where do you see this all heading? What could the long-term effects of this fatwa be?
Well, for one, it could really open up cryptocurrency to a much larger demographic.
How so?
There are over 1.8 billion Muslims globally, and a lot of them are searching for investments that align with their faith.
Ah, so this could lead to way more adoption in those countries.
Exactly, and that could have a huge impact on the entire crypto landscape. Trading volumes, new products, services tailored to Muslim investors.
Like what kind of products and services?
Well, imagine Sharia-compliant crypto exchanges that strictly follow Islamic finance principles, or decentralized platforms for zakat, which is, the obligatory charitable giving in Islam.
Yeah.
We could even see halal cryptocurrencies specifically designed to meet Islamic law.
Whoa, those are some big possibilities.
I know, right? And some really cool stuff is already happening in Islamic fintech. For example, some companies are exploring blockchain solutions for Islamic inheritance distribution,
Oh, interesting.
which is a really complex process involving many people and different jurisdictions.
So this isn't just theoretical.
No, not at all. People are already making it happen.
That's so cool. And this is just the beginning, right?
Yeah, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to see a ton of innovation in this space as more people realize the potential.
Yeah. Combining Islamic finance and blockchain is pretty powerful.
It's like a whole new frontier of finance is opening up.
It really is. And it goes beyond just finance, right? What about using blockchain for things like supply chain transparency in the halal food industry?
Exactly.
Or even for creating more efficient systems for charitable giving?
Absolutely. The possibilities are really endless.
This has really opened my eyes to the potential of all this. It's
Yeah.
so much more than just investing.
I agree. It's about using tech to make a real difference.
We create positive change.
Exactly. And to create a financial system that's actually fair and aligns with people's values and ethics.
So for our listener, What's the biggest takeaway here?
Well, the key is that Islamic finance and cryptocurrency aren't just a what if anymore.
Right.
It's happening right now. And this mix of tradition and innovation could totally reshape finance as we know it.
It's definitely a lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
And I bet our listeners feeling the same way.
I hope so. This is really just the beginning of the conversation. And I'm so excited to see where it goes.
We've only just, scratched the surface here.
We really have. And that's what I find so fascinating about it all. There are just so many layers to unpack.
Right.
So many perspectives.
So for our listener who's been with us on this whole deep dive, like, what would you say is the most important takeaway as they, keep exploring all this intersection of Islamic law and crypto?
That's a great question. I think it's important to remember that this landscape is constantly evolving.
Okay.
The fatwa on Bitcoin, yeah, it's a big development.
Yeah.
But it's just one piece of the puzzle. There are still so many questions to be answered, so many challenges.
Like how to make sure that these new financial tools are actually, adhering to Islamic principles.
Exactly. That's a big one. There's a lot of discussion going on right now about what makes a cryptocurrency truly halal
Right.
or a blockchain platform Sharia compliant.
It's not an easy answer.
No, not at all. It really takes a deep understanding of both Islamic jurisprudence and the tech side of blockchain.
Those are both complex.
Very complex. And it's an ongoing process, right? We're constantly learning, adapting, refining as things change.
So it's not just about slapping a halal label on something.
No, definitely not. It's much deeper than that. And that's where, Islamic scholars and financial experts come in.
Right. They play a crucial role.
They really do. They need to be involved, providing guidance, addressing concerns, and making sure these technologies benefit everyone.
So for our listener, what's the best way to stay informed about all this?
Well, there's some really good online resources like websites and forums dedicated to Islamic finance and fintech.
Oh, cool.
There are also conferences and workshops that
Oh.
bring together, scholars, entrepreneurs, investors.
That's awesome. And of course, just staying up to date on the news
Absolutely.
in both worlds.
Yeah, I got to keep learning.
It seems like such a fascinating time to be following all of this.
It really is. There's just so much potential for good,
Yeah.
It's inspiring to see how people are using tech to create a fairer financial system, something that aligns with their values.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap up this deep dive.
I agree. It's been such a great conversation.
It really has.
Yeah.
And to our listener, we hope this has, sparked your curiosity and inspired you to keep exploring all of this. Remember, knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
And the more we understand about these technologies, the better equipped we'll be for the future of finance.
Well said. And remember, everyone, this isn't the end.
Right.
Keep researching, keep asking questions, keep the conversation going.
Maybe you'll even be the one leading the charge someday, developing the next big thing in Islamic fintech.
Yeah, why not?
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning.
See you then.